Hello everyone, welcome to Gora Studies. In this video, I will show the implementation of Singleton class. In my previous video, I already discussed the theory of Singleton design pattern. So in this video, mostly I will cover the first three implementation method. The first one, the lazy initialization, thread step singleton, and double checked locking. Now coming to the lazy initialization. What is lazy initialization? So basically create the instance when it is required. Okay, so we can save memory and resources if the singleton never used in the application. Okay, so quickly let's do some hands-on on lazy initialization. Okay, so it's my IntelliJ. So I'm creating one Java class first. Let me create the class, give the name like lazy initialization. Okay, okay, also let me define the constructor. Okay, this is the constructor. Okay, now I'm creating another class, the main class. Let's give the name as main, and the main method is here. Okay, now create two objects of this class inside main. So the first one like obj1 equal to new this lazy initialization. Let me print the hash code of this object hash code, and create another object. Okay, create another object, give the name object2 and the hash code. Okay, now let me run this program and see the hash code of these two objects are same or not. Okay, so let me run it. Okay, so here you can see, so the hash code of object 1 and object 2 are not same. These are different. This one is for object 1 and this one is for object 2. It means this lazy initialization class, that class I created, is not a singleton class, because we can create different object of this, multiple object of this class. Okay, now we need to make this class as a singleton. So in my previous video I already discussed that to make a class as singleton we need to follow 3 steps. So what all are those steps? Okay, let me write down here the steps so it will be easy to understand. Okay, okay, the first step is declare a static variable that holds the object of this class. Okay, second one is declare the constructor as private, and the third step is create a static factory method and declare as public. Okay, so these 3 steps we need to follow to make a class as singleton. Okay, so let's declare a static variable. Okay, private static, uh, the type of the variable should be the class name, because this variable will hold the object of this class. Okay, and I'm giving the name instance. Okay, and I'm initialize as null. Correct. So the first point, the first step is done. Now declare the constructor as private. So we can make this constructor as private. Okay, so this second step is also done. Some error here, you can see two related problems. Why this is coming? Because here, now you can see the problem. If you declare the constructor as private, then we cannot call that constructor from here, because the error is saying that the this is saying basically the make this package private. Okay, so this is not accessible from this class because we declare the constructor as private. Okay, so let me comment, let me delete now then. Okay, this one. Okay, so the error are gone now. Okay, now it's clean. The third step is create a static factory method and declare as public. Okay, so now let's, okay, it's a constructor. Okay, now create a static factory method, and the method should be a public method. So let's create public static, type of this method should be the class, okay, name, because this method also return the instance of this class only, and I'm giving this get instance. Okay, now this is the method and it will return the instance of this class. Correct. Okay, so okay, so this method should be public. Okay, first, second thing, it will create, it will, sorry, it will call the constructor and create an object of this class. Okay, and what we will return instance of this class. Fine. Okay, now what we need to do now, from this class we can call this constructor. So let's say instance equal to this, so we are calling this constructor. Okay, and it will return. Okay, we are calling this constructor, we are basically creating the object. Okay, not calling the constructor, we are creating the object and we are returning that object. Okay, in this, from this method. That's it. Now let me call this public method, because we cannot access this private constructor from the main class, so we have to call this get instance method from here. Okay, let me call that, let me call that like obj1 equal to, okay, we can access this class using the this method, the get instance method, using the class name because it's a static method. Okay, so let's call this method. So we can call this get instance method using the class name only. Okay, because it's a static method. Now print the hash code of this object dot hash code. Okay, again let's see, create another object, that is object 2. Okay, and print this hash code. Okay, now it's ready. So created we we created one static variable, okay, where we are basically assigning the object of this class. We made the constructor as private. We created one static factory method which returns basically the instance of this class. Okay, now let me run the main class and see whether is both, both object are same or not. Okay, let me run it. Yes, now here you can see the hash code of these two objects are same. Okay, it means only one object is getting created. Okay, so we can say now this class is a singleton class. Okay, so it's clear, right, how we are creating a singleton class. All we need to follow these 3 steps. Okay, and we can make a class as a singleton. Okay, okay, but this implementation is failing when multi-threading is coming on the picture. Okay, so in the multi-threading application, okay, this implementation should not work. Okay, I'm giving one example. Okay, suppose we have 2 thread, and this 2 thread, okay, executing this method at the same time. Okay, so in that case, you know that both the thread will enter inside this method, and both the thread will execute the line number 26 at the same time. So in that case, for both the thread, the instance variable value is null. So in that case, the first thread also enter inside this if condition and create an object, and the second thread also enter inside this if condition and create another object. So in that case, 2 different objects are getting created. So for multi-threading application, this approach is not working. Okay, to overcome this problem, we have another implementation that is called thread safe implementation. Okay, so let's see how the thread safe implementation works here. Okay, so the lazy initialization we already covered. Okay, now coming to the thread safe singleton. So this approach is similar to lazy initialization, but it ensures that the singleton is thread safe. Correct. So this is achieved by making the static factory method as synchronized so that only one thread can execute that method at a time. Okay, but there is some disadvantage also, like declaring the static factory method as synchronized can decrease the performance of the application. Okay, so let's see the implementation. Okay, okay, let's come into the hands-on. Okay, so I'm creating another class. Okay, giving the name thread safe, thread safe. Okay, and let's copy some code, like we required all this, so to save the time I'm just copying the content from the previous class. Okay, now this method also we need to copy here. Okay, 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 that's it. Okay, so now in the thread shape, what you need to do, we need to declare this factory method as synchronized. Okay, so it's synchronized. Okay, okay, it should be small. Okay, this synchronized. So now when both the thread, okay, suppose both the thread executing this method called, means from here, if you see, okay, from the main method you can understand from here, both the thread can call the get instance method at a single time. Okay, at a time. Okay, so when, okay, the thread 1 calls this get instance method, and the same time if thread 2 also calls the get instance method, then here as we declared this method as synchronized, so the second method will wait until the first method, sorry, the second thread will wait here until the first thread complete the execution of this method. So in that case, the second method will wait outside this method, and the first method, sorry, second thread, the second thread will wait outside this method, and the first thread executing, okay, executing inside this method. So in the line number 26, when the first thread comes here, the instance value is null. Okay, then the first thread will executes line number 27 and create the instance of this object. Okay, now the if you go here, the instance variable value is there. Okay, when the second thread comes, okay, once the first thread complete the execution, then the second thread enters into this method, and then in the line number 26, when we check instance equal to null, it will return false because the instance variable is not null now. So in that case, the line number 27 should not be executed. Okay, so this method will return the instance of the class which is created by the first thread. Okay, got my point? So in that case, you can see that whatever the thread number, it does not affect the singleton pattern. Okay, every time it will return the single object. Okay, so it's clear now how we are implementing in the multi-threading application. Okay, Now coming to the double checked locking. What is that? So why we need to use that? Okay, so basically to minimize performance overhead from synchronization by only synchronizing when the object is first created. Okay, so let's see how to implement this double check locking. Okay, so let's create another class here. I'm giving the name like double checked, double checked. Okay, double checked, and I'm copying content from here. Thread step, copy. Okay, 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 right. So fine. Okay, so for thread safe, we are making the get instance class as synchronized. Okay, now what is the problem if we make this method as synchronized? Suppose the here, suppose here in the line number 26, here you have some business logic. Okay, you have some business logic. Okay, business logic here, business logic here. So when two thread come here, or when two threads simultaneously access this get instance method, okay, so as this method is synchronized, so the first thread will enter inside this method, and that the first thread will execute all the code whatever we have inside this method, and once the first thread complete the execution, after that the second thread can enter inside this method. So suppose I'm taking some example that the complete method execution, the complete method execution time is 5 millisecond. Okay, out of 5 millisecond, business logic execute business logic execution time is 3 millisecond, and instance creation time is 2 millisecond. Now see here, so when first thread start executing this synchronized method, that time the second thread needs to wait outside this method. So how long the second thread needs to wait outside this method? 5 millisecond, because the complete execution time of this method is 5 millisecond. But you know, this business logic is common for all the thread. So in that case, if we can allow both the thread in both the threads inside this method, and if both the thread can execute the business logic at the same time, then we can save 3 millisecond. Correct? Because the singleton implementation is depend on this line number 33. Correct? Line number 33, not with the business logic. So in that case, if you want to allow both the threads inside this method, first thing we need to do, we need to remove this synchronized keyword, so that this method is not anymore synchronized method. Okay, correct. Now both the method can enter inside this method. They can they can execute the business logic at the same time. Okay, so that here we can save 3 millisecond per thread. Okay, now coming to this 30 line number 32, where we are line number 32 and 33, basically where we are creating the instance. So if both the thread enter inside this method and execute the business logic at same time, both the thread also execute line number 32 at same time. And when both the thread executing this line, then you can see the instance value is null. So for both the thread, the value is null. Okay, for both the thread, the instance value is null. So in that case, both thread will enter inside this condition, and thread both the threads will execute line number 33. Correct. So in that case, the thread 1 and thread 2 will create two different objects. So how to prevent to create two different objects? Because the concept of singleton is that the class should have only one object throughout the application. So what we need to do, we can do one thing. We can use the synchronization here in the object creation. So here we can use the static block. Okay, here we can use the static block. We can create the static block of double check class object. So we can define like that way. Sorry, it's a synchronize. Okay, sorry. uh, we need to specify, okay, to protect the multiple thread to execute the object creation, we have to specify a synchronized block. Okay, not the static block. Synchronized block, and we have to synchronize the object of this class. Okay, now we can put this code inside this synchronized block. Correct. Okay, so now here you can see the both thread can execute line number 32 at a time. Okay, both thread can enter inside this if condition, but when in the line number 34 only one thread can execute the line number 35. So first thread can execute the line number 35, and the second thread will wait outside this synchronized block. Okay, so first thread will create the instance of this object, and then the second thread enter inside the synchronized block, and that thread also create another object. So here also you can see that two different objects are being created. So we need to protect that also. For that, what we need to do, we need to check again. What we need to check again, that instance equal to null. Okay, then only then only then only if the instance equal to null, then only create the instance of this class. So now if two threads threads come inside this get instance method, execute line number 32 at the same time. Okay, and in the third line number 34, the first thread, okay, execute first the synchronized block. Okay, then the first thread create the instance of this object of this class and returns this instance. When the second thread comes inside this synchronized block, then in the line number 35 you can see instance variable is not null now because the instance is already created. So this condition will this condition is false now, so the second thread will not enter inside this if condition, so that the line number 36 will not be executed again for thread 2. So for thread 2 also the instance is returning which one? The instance created by the first thread. So here you can see that, okay, the for both the thread we can both the threads we can see the see a single object of this class. Okay, so now you can see we are checking 2 times the instance equal to null. That's why it's called double checked. Okay, double checked thread safe implementation. Okay, so now you understand all three implementation: lazy initialization, thread safe singleton, and double checked locking. Okay, okay, so that's it in this video. In the next video I will discuss on eager initialization or early initialization, okay, enum singleton and static block initialization, and also we'll do some hands-on on these three. Okay, okay, so thank you for watching. See you in the next video.